Jesus. How we doing? How we doing? Trying to get set up. Can you guys hear me? It's raining. Hunting Bud, what's up, man? Can you guys hear me? Ricky, what's up? Awesome. It's raining and storming and cold. Zach, how's it going? Let a couple guys get on here, hopefully. Ricky, I'm sitting in the rain, man. Sitting in my carport, but all my rods live outside, so I gotta come out here to talk to you guys. I'm going to talk about my confidence baits and how I fish them, which is a little odd because I'm a little odd. What we got here? We'll give another minute or so, see if we can't get some guys on. Good old Illinois. How's your guys' weather? Are you raining and cold like I am? Sunny and 85, huh? It's wet, miserable, like 55 in Illinois. Oh shit, that's worse than it was before. Wait, oh, that's better? I'm gonna figure this camera thing out. Alright. Alright, let's get to it, guys. Confidence baits. We'll start off like first thing in the morning. I prefer a walking bait. Jeremy, how's it going? Walking bait is my first thing in the morning confidence bait. It'd be the first thing I throw every morning, every tournament, all year. Doesn't even matter. But not like you guys think, not like you would fish a normal walking bait. Normally I'm throwing like the Zara Spook. You know, loud, fast, and mostly because I'm a kid at heart and it's fun, and I like to walk the dog. You know, whatever. If I'm fishing something, we have a local reservoir that has a lot of overhangs, but not a lot of laydowns. I'll throw a soft body frog so I can skip it in there. But I'll use the walking bait to kind of tell me if I go to a buzzbait or maybe like a horny toad, you know, a soft body frog, soft plastic frog, something like that. But when I'll start off walking the dog, you know, real slow, steady pace. If they're kind of hitting it, but not really hitting it, I'll walk it and pause, you know, walk, pause, jerk, jerk, pause, get in a rhythm a little bit. If they like that, you just keep throwing it, you know, it works great. If they stop hitting it, when I start the pause, I'll just constant reel it. You know, they usually move enough water to attract a fish. And if a fish will start hitting that, I'll go to a buzzbait. If it, you know, and then the buzzbait or the horny toad for me depends on the amount of chop that's on the water. You know, so if it's real choppy and I feel like I need a lot of noise, then I'll go to a buzzbait. If it's a little calmer and I want something a little more settle, I'll go to a horny toad or like the white ribbit toads. You know, like these guys. White is usually my go-to color. That's first thing in the morning. And then usually in Illinois, depending on the day, you know, because Illinois is like, you have all 4 seasons in one day. You know, at launch, it's 40 degrees and you've got a coat on and a freaking helmet and jeans and raincoat and whole 10 yards. And then by 8 o'clock, you're down to sweatshirt and shorts. So 8 o'clock or so, I use them by themselves. Hunting bud. I'm missing a rod. But I'll put them on Vector's 5/0 screw hooks. I'll pair them with these. The swim bait hooks. Kenneth, how you doing, man? Personally, I prefer the horny toads. You know, I actually bought these ribbit frogs in Florida for the Beat the Bosses tournament because I didn't have any white. But so you'll use the hooks and you'll just thread them in the nose without stabbing myself because I'm cold and shaking. I know some of you guys might know how to do this, but the bullfrog color is my favorite, Kenneth. And then, so you'll thread them on, and then I like to line up where I think it's about to go, and then I'll go through, just like a Texas rig, but I do come all the way through. And then I'll seat it back up top there. And it'll sit in this little ridge. I don't know how well you can tell on camera. But the hook will hide down in the ridge so it still stays weedless. And then it'll swim like that. So I'll use these when it's a little calmer water. And I feel like the buzzbait might be scaring them more than it is attracting them. You know, just something a little more subtle. If it's a little choppier, I'll go to a buzzbait, which I will throw on. I'll throw a horny toad on there. I don't throw a buzzbait with a skirt. And I'll throw that on like a... Most of my top water is going to be on like a 7.3. Let's see. My frog is on a 7.3 heavy. Yes, yeah, weightless hunting bud. The 5/0 is enough hook to give enough weight for a decent cast. I'll throw the horny toads and stuff. I'll throw on a like a 7.3 medium heavy, and then my spook I'll throw on like a 7-foot medium, all fast. And then once the sun comes up, I'll go to a spinnerbait or a square bill, but I hate crankbaits. And by hate crankbaits, I mean I would rather lose a rod in the water than throw a crankbait. I hate crankbaits. It's my weakness. I hate crankbaits. So if any of you guys want to do a video on tips for crankbaits, I'll be there. And if I'm not there, I'll watch it later. I'll probably watch it a couple times. But so once the sun comes up, usually a spinnerbait or a square bill a chatterbait. And the chatterbait, I have a love-hate relationship with the chatterbait because it was really good for a long time and then it failed me. So my partner and I used to throw chatterbaits about 2 years ago, almost exclusively. As soon as the sun came up, we threw chatterbaits until our arms fell off pretty well. But we didn't throw them like most people. So when you think chatterbait, and that's the problem, people call it a chatterbait, it's a vibrating jig. It's a jig. So a lot of the times when it got hot, we would just fish it like a jig. You know, we would pitch it into cover, throw it into the grass, rip it out of the grass, just like a jig, just like a Texas rig. And I think the blade on the chatterbait actually got us a lot more bites when we were kind of hopping it or dragging it, just the little subtle flash. And it was different. Everybody was throwing a chatterbait, but it was like cast and slow roll, cast and speed it back in. We would pitch it, we would flip it, we would bomb it out like a freaking crankbait. We would throw it out 30 feet and let it sit. We are shallow water fishermen, me and my partner. That's why we work so well together. Sorry, distracted semi. But yeah, so the chatterbait was good for us for a while. And then we went to Academy Sports, and a guy from FLW came in, and he said, everybody's throwing the chatterbait, it's the greatest thing ever. Well, it was about a week after that, we stopped getting bit on the chatterbait. And I said, okay, something's got to change. So I went to a spinnerbait, and I actually have a spinnerbait tied on 1000% of the time. There will never be a rod on my deck of my boat that does not have a spinnerbait on it anymore. And I lose the little bit of fishing it like a jig just because I don't want to throw it into a laydown. I don't know, but it brings me to my next point. You know, when it gets hot, middle of the day, sun comes up over your head, a jig and a Texas rig. I mean, a black jig or a brown jig, always. I always have a jig tied on. I have two on right now. I don't even know what I took off, actually. I don't know. But there's always a jig on. And then a Texas rig. And I'm going to fish my Texas rig a little bit differently also. So my Texas rig, I'll fish, like I said, when it gets hot. Or even in the morning. When, say, like if I can't get a bite on the topwater, or the spinnerbait's just not working like I think it should, I'll go to a Texas rig first. Usually Texas rig first. But I fish the Texas rig differently. You know, most guys, Texas rig, you flip it in, you drag it, you reel it back once you get out of the cover, you burn it back to the boat, make another flip. I'm like total opposite. I'll cast a Texas rig and swim it back like a swim jig or like a swim bait. Which is probably why I don't almost never throw like a fluke or any other kind of weightless soft swim bait. Because I just use my Texas rig. And then if they're hitting it, as soon as it hits the water, I'll switch to a jig because it hooks up. Gotta get better hookup ratios when they're hitting that fast. And then I'll still flip it and pitch it also because it's weedless and it's a Texas rig. But the kind of baits, you know, I have a crawl on almost year round around here. I'll throw a crawl. But like a little creature bait also, like the Bandito bugs. If you guys watch or use Guggen baits, the Bandito bugs are really good. The little crawls are really good. Captain, what's up, man? But the crawls that I use are the big bite baits, or the net baits. I like the net baits too. The big bite baits swimming crawl. Oh, that pack's not even open yet. Huh? It is now. These ones. So when you swim them, these kick a lot. There's so much motion in here. They'll hit it, and if they're hitting it when I'm swimming it, then I can go to a chatterbait on that certain stretch of bank, or at that certain depth, at that certain speed, or even maybe like a like a swim jig. And I'll put the Texas rig down and go to something that, you know, more focuses on that style fishing. If they're hitting it, you know, say you throw it out, you let it sink to the bottom, and it's just sitting there and they hit it, I'm going back to a jig. Almost exclusively like a football head jig or Vector's jigs. That's a telltale for me. And then usually if they hit it when I'm like dragging it or hopping it, I'm just going to stay with a Texas rig. Just because I like fishing Texas rigs. It's one of the best producing rigs for me. Especially around here because there's so much different cover. You know, you can throw a Texas rig in anything without really worrying about it too much. I will peg my weights on my Texas rig usually. Is this one pegged? Let me see. This one's not. But it's a bigger bait. Falls off here. Maybe. A bigger bait, I'm probably not going to peg. Just so it has room to stand up by itself. But normally when I peg it, if I peg it, I won't peg it all the way down on the hook like this. I almost never peg it all the way down. When I peg it, I'll leave about, you know, half an inch or so. So when it sits, the hook still has room to float the body of the bait up. So the appendages and everything are still up in the air kicking. It's just something I found that works best for me. Texas rig, I'm throwing on a 7.3 medium heavy fast. A jig is a 7.3 medium heavy fast. A jig, I'm throwing usually 50-pound braid. I'm running the Power Pro right now. Texas rig, I'm throwing 50-pound braid, usually to like a 15-pound fluoro leader. Doing some experimenting. A spinnerbait, chatterbait, I'm throwing on 15-pound fluoro. Topwater frog, I'm throwing on 65-pound braid. The walking baits and buzz baits are on 30-pound braid. Mostly because I don't really have to rip anything out usually. And they hook up pretty well. Crankbaits, square bills, and maybe a rattle trap. If I'm really having just no success and I'm throwing something different, I'll throw a rattle trap. Usually like a silver chrome color. And then the spinnerbaits are usually a bluegill, crappie color, or a shad. Like it's really heavy on the bluegill or it's really heavy shad color. I don't have many in-betweens. I don't throw a lot of like yellows and whites. That's all. I throw the square bills on 12-pound fluoro. Trying to think what else. And then a wacky rig. I always, my partner and I both always have a wacky rig tied on exclusively. You know, so anywhere in the boat, if I'm fishing up front and I miss a frog, he can bend down and pick up my wacky rig and throw it. And then vice versa, if I happen to be in the back for whatever reason, you know, we both have a wacky rig right there. 90% of the time, it's a white Senko dipped, both ends dipped in JJ's Magic, the chartreuse color. Just, I don't really know what it is about that color combination, but it's amazing for us. I don't know. Wacky rig, I'm throwing on a 7-foot medium light with I think it's 10-pound braid, 15-pound braid on my spinning setup. I have a shaky head tied on almost all the time, but I don't have a lot of confidence. You know, if I had a list of my confidence baits, it'd be number like 11 or 10 or whatever, you know, bottom of the list. But it's something I'll throw in the middle of the day if nothing else is working. You know, I just out of ideas, don't know what to throw. That's kind of like the Whopper Plopper in the morning. If I'm just out of ideas and I don't know what to throw, I'll throw a Whopper Plopper. Something different. A drop shot, I don't throw as much as I probably should, but I don't do a lot of vertical jigging because we're shallow water fishermen. I don't like fishing deep. I'm not very good at it. But if my partner can fish deep and I can fish shallow, we can usually put together a pretty good bag between the two of us. You know, and there's been a couple tournaments, you know, middle of the day, you know, say 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock or so, when the shallow water bite is just not there, and we say, hey, we got to go, and we'll go out deep, and we'll swap spots in the boat. He'll go up front, run the trolling motor, run the graphs. He's a deep water fisherman. I'll sit in the back and chuck a spinnerbait until my arm falls off, just like I did it in Florida at the Beat the Boston tournament with the Lake Legend. I think I threw a spinnerbait that weekend more than I have my entire career. I threw a freaking spinnerbait almost the entire tournament. Because I don't know how to fish deep, guys. I don't know how to do it. You know, I tied on a crankbait once or twice. But I'm not a deep water guy. You know, deep water for me up here is like 20 feet, 15 feet. I catch most of my fish, all summer long even, I'll catch fish in like a foot or 2 foot of water. Not all bass go deep during the summer. And that's something you got to remember too. If you're fishing a tournament, you know, say 30, 40 boats, and 29 of them boats go to deep water and you're the only boat left, maybe make a run early morning, go shallow. You'll be the only one up there. There'll be no pressure. It'll be you and however many miles of bank. You know, if it's hot, find the deepest part of the bank from the rest of the bank. You know, so you get a bank that goes like this, and it kind of curves in. Hit this little slough right here. And then if you can find that with a shadow over top of it, that's money. You know, you're looking for dark shadows, deep inlets in the bank. You'll catch fish in 100 degrees. We do it all year. I don't like fishing deep. I'm so bad at it. But 90% of the time, I'm fishing a Texas rig. But a Texas rig, not historically like most people fish a Texas rig. I will not burn a Texas rig back to the boat ever. I never do it, even if I miss a fish. As soon as it comes out of the cover, I'm swimming it like a swim bait. You know, them little paddle tails are just going and going or going, or the crawls or whatever. And then if I start getting hit, if I start catching a lot of small fish, you know, 10-inch fish, but they're like smashing the smaller crawl or the smaller creature bait, the little 3-inch, I'll throw something on like the big brush hog or a bigger profile bait and fish it the same way. And then if that doesn't work, then I need to change something to find big fish. But yeah, guys, that's my confidence baits. Like I said, most people fish a Texas rig confidently because it's easy. I'm awful with Senkos except for the wacky rig. I don't throw flukes or weightless swim baits. I don't throw hard body swim baits. I'm terrible fishing cranks. I don't know when to throw them. I don't know where to throw them. I don't know why to throw them. I have a rod for it. You know, because if I get in a tournament and I just have no success doing anything, I will throw on anything and everything to see if I can buy a bite. I'm not opposed to trying new things. I just, especially when there's money on the line, I try to fish what I know. And then if that doesn't work, I just throw whatever the hell is in the boat. Last year I threw it was the weirdest thing. So we took my buddy's a big fan of the Googan Squad. So he has a bunch of Googan baits. We took one of their Bandito bugs and put it on the front hook of a crankbait. Let me see if I can kind of show you what I'm talking about here. And it was really weird, but it worked. So we weren't getting bites on a crankbait. We weren't getting bites on the Texas rig. We weren't getting bites on a spinnerbait. So we took like a rattle trap, you know, your normal lipless crank. And we took the front hook, the front treble, the inside treble hook, and we just nose hooked like a crawl. Ow, and don't stab yourself with tornadoes because they hurt. And we fished it. Ow, stop moving. Stop. Hey. And we fished it just like this. Just for a little extra, you know, whatever. I think we got, I don't know, 1 or 2 fish off it. But it was enough to give us 4th place. So, you know, we'll take it. Do you guys have any weird off-the-wall stuff you do for confidence? Like for me, swimming a crawl or swimming a Texas rig is way different from what I see around here. Rob, what's up, man? What do you guys do when the going gets tough? And so my partner and I, we like to do, him more than me, he likes to kind of wander as far as baits go and stuff. So we'll start a tournament with me fishing my walking bait because we know it's going to catch fish. We know it's going to catch fish. We know it's going to work. You know, at least 1 or 2 in the morning. And he'll throw something crazy off the wall. Like, he'll throw a Senko and burn it across the top. You know, something way different. And so that's, you know, we work pretty well together. A tail-weighted centipede. Is that like a Senko with legs? That's what I'm picturing in my head. With like a nail weight in it. Hey, I'm still learning too, but these videos that have been coming out the past few weeks have been awesome. The past week or two, everybody talking about their stuff. I'm trying to get more into changing my reels for the bait. Sorry, my contact's being weird. I throw fast reels. I like fast reels. My spinnerbait reel is a 7... 4-inch French fry bait. I'll do a video. Yeah, that sounds awesome. 4-inch French fry. Hey guys, the family's home. I should have a light set up all the time. I look great. It glides backwards. I'm intrigued. You've caught my attention. Is it like a finesse setup, Rob? Oh, alright. But yeah, I'll throw my crankbaits on a 6-speed because I don't have to go real deep. My chatterbait's on a 7-speed, and then everything else is on an 8-speed. I like fast reels. It's easier for me to slow down than it is to speed up. Alright guys, I'm going to get off here. Hope this helped. If you guys need any help, PM me. I'll tell you more about what I do. You know, if you need more help or information or whatever, take it easy. How do I end this thing?